using the online one. So Megan, are you okay to talk now?
Yeah, I'm ready
Yeah.
to rock and roll. Lucas,
Fantastic.
thank you so much. I felt like I got some really good life advice. You're a really lovely person. I'm glad I caught the tail end of that.
Brilliant. And the sessions get recorded and published. I know it takes us some time because the teenagers are the ones doing the editing. But Megan, I can't remember where we met. It was probably at a conference
Cool.
somewhere around the world.
Yeah, and where are you based, Marcelo?
I am now close to Bern in Switzerland. I've been here in the country for almost 15 years.
Yeah,
But
we
always
met in Switzerland then,
fundraising.
probably at one of the Swiss Burns or something.
Yeah, I guess it could be maybe the UN week in New York. I
Hmm.
guess you do that one as well. But in any case, I don't want to eat too much into your time. We do have some flexibility. The next speaker is a good friend of mine. I'm sure he'll be okay. Starting a little bit later if you're okay, going a little bit longer. And yeah, I mean, you have a super interesting life. You have an amazing social network, and you have this incredible energy. I guess people get happy just by listening to your voice. And we are very curious to know what you have to say in terms of wisdom for teenagers.
Awesome. Well, I'm so honored for the opportunity to get to be here. It's really nice for me actually because I'm moving. My whole room is in boxes. I've lived in my San Francisco Mission apartment for 12 years. I've lived in the Bay Area for 13, and I came here to pursue my dreams, and now my dreams are elsewhere. So it's really nice that as kind of this is my last day in my flat. So it's really sweet that I get to give some advice to folks out there. So Marcelo, I just have a few notes and I'll just kind of talk, and then feel free to ask me questions along the way. Does that sound good?
Sure, perfect.
Okay. So a little bit about me. I'm Megs Rutigliano. I was born in New York City. I lived a lot in Europe and across the United States. My hobbies are I'm a singer and a performer and an MC. And then in my career, I've done everything from television and film production to large scale festival organizing. I've worked with Burning Man for 12 years, building an international center within an international event, and also helping to support an international community of artists and dreamers and makers and folks with interesting opinions and viewpoints, and trying to create spaces both in person and online for them to share with one another. And then I've also just launched my own business, so you can do it. I'm 38. Maybe it will take you less time, teenagers. But my new business is called Globally Curated. And essentially, I'm helping to provide a bridge between my international network of artists and dreamers and performers with folks that really need their events, whether they're online or in person. During COVID, obviously, most events are going to be taking place online, but I can help to, book international speakers, acrobats, contortionists, people that do card tricks, MCs, comedians, all of that. And so that feels like a fun dream. And right now I'm heading to Detroit, where and you'll probably notice a thread in a lot of my talking is I like kind of wacky, big scale, that seems impossible projects. So my good friends in Detroit Detroit used to be in the United States quite the height of culture and fashion, and also it was the home of automobiles coming to the United States. So it experienced this really big economic boom. People came from all over the country to be a part of Detroit. A lot of African Americans, a lot of folks from the Northeast. And Detroit really had all of these beautiful buildings and facilities and large factories built. But then the motor industry kind of went bust. A lot of the business went overseas, and Detroit has kind of become this kind of like a wasteland. I mean, it's still a city, but the grandeur and the excitement that it once had has been sort of taken away, or it's moved outside of the city. So I'm part of a group of artists and city developers that are trying to really bring back a strong arts and cultural presence to the downtown, and specifically to the areas that were impacted by the motor industry. So some friends of mine in Detroit have taken over an old Lincoln Motor factory where they make mutant vehicles, which is something we love from Burning Man. So they've created from old car parts a giant fire-breathing dragon and something they call the Roach. And they make it out of materials that they call detritus, which is like the past industrial materials and waste, and how can they use those materials to transform the space of Detroit and create a kind of urban renaissance. So I'm going there to support them and help to build a sculpture park. Going to be working with the Motown Museum and other foundations to create a mural festival to honor African-American musicians in Detroit. And then we're also hoping to create an immersive museum that will take people through the old industrial revolution and some, kind of interesting interactive exhibitions, maybe some live performances, and then into this futuristic vision of flying cars and cars that breathe fire and look like dragons. So that's going to be fun. It's a dream project. And so that's kind of what I'm up to. There's a lot of fun little tangents in my life, but I'm deciding to put some energy towards Detroit. So a couple of tips that I have for you. I've always, or at least since I was a teenager, maybe a later teenager, really considered myself in active co-creation with the universe. Whether you believe in God, whether you are, agnostic, I'm somewhere in the middle. I believe that we all are in dialogue with a force that's larger than ourselves. And so I try to use the energy that the universe provides me. That can be from seeing symbols, noticing synchronicities or moments of magic, and sort of thanking the universe when things start going right, and also asking the universe why things are funny when they're not going so well. So I am moving with my vision boards, but one thing that I think is super fun to do, and it also kind of keeps me feeling young, is I make vision boards. So this is a vision board that I made a couple months ago. This was my personal one as opposed to my professional one, talking about living the dream, talking about the butterfly in the middle says, embrace change as the source of your creativity. And then I also have done a career one, which has some pictures of the spaces I'm going to be working in Detroit and some other projects. I network, you network, dreams of circuses and international performances. And I generally put those vision boards up in a place in my bedroom where I can see them every day. And, it's not an overnight thing that your dreams come true. But what's cool about creating a vision board is I still have some that I made a few years ago that maybe I don't feature like front and center in my room, but I'll have them off to the side. I realized that by and by, a lot of the things that I visualized for myself happening end up happening. And they end up happening sometimes in ways that are maybe a little underwhelming, but then some, what I thought was just like a little scrap of paper that said be fearless, then becomes this huge, kind of theme for maybe a difficult year in my life. So I very much recommend taking the time, putting on some good music, and when you're making any kind of transition, whether it's between grades or between high school and college or between the online classroom and going back into real-time school, taking a little time, taking some old magazines, photos, and trying to envision a future that delights you, I think is a nice way to set a path. So that's something I've always done. or I've done for the past 20 years. I've got some years on you guys. And I would say definitely always follow your dreams. I know people say that all the time, but you only have one life. I mean, maybe you have more lives. Like I said, I'm open to all kinds of forms of belief, but in this here and now, I think we've got to grab things and try to make the most of the opportunities we're given. So I came to San Francisco because I wanted to build a circus. And I thought maybe I would be like the ringmaster, but what ended up happening is I was really good at the organizing and production part. So, sometimes the dream too, you realize maybe you need other people who have skill sets that will complement you. I've met amazing folks along the way that are incredible in large scale event production that have taught me everything from how to order materials for artists to build big installations, how to deal with the local fire department to ensure that we can have flame effects and big things and big noise at our events. And I've always really enjoyed the process of planning and prep for things, almost just as much as the dreams coming true themselves. So also, follow your dreams, but enjoy the orchestration and the planning, because once the event or once the big chapter of your life happens that you've been dreaming about, it will go by like that. So make sure that you also enjoy what goes into the creation and iteration, the frustrations and the joys and all the things that combine to make something happen. I would also say that it's really important to be grateful for help. The help that you receive along the way is important to you and your growth, but one of the best gifts you can give other people that help you is letting them know how something that they did contributed to something positive happening for you down the line. So, for an example, I've got a friend in Detroit who first introduced me to the guys I'm going to be working with. Many years ago, I brought them out for a conference, and at that point, I just thought they were interesting speakers, and I liked their story, but I had no idea how it would develop. And just the other day, I wrote them a note and said, I just want to say thank you. Without your introduction, I may never have met these interesting folks that I'm now so excited to collaborate with. So for you guys, that could be teachers, mentors, folks like Marcelo that are putting, speaker series together. If there are things that even not right that moment help you, but if you remember down the line that something someone said had an impact, something Lucas said, changed some direction for you, it's never too late to tell somebody thank you. And it also helps to nurture that relationship with the person that was on your side. I would definitely say also, as you pursue your path and as you gain some traction in your pursuits, really be looking for people that you can help, because a lot of folks need a leg up. Right now, for example, I'm working on a freelance project and I have 2 magical interns. They're my angels. They're pursuing their MBAs from university in Toulouse. And, at first I was like, it's stressful to take on interns. I've already got a lot going on. I'm moving, blah. But it's so worth it, because in helping them and in mentoring them, they're also providing me with a much fresher context around social media. They're better at using stuff like Photoshop, and they're also just asking me questions that make me stronger because I have to explain them and I have to help. So, and I can tell that they're learning and they're taking some pride and ownership in their work fairly quickly, because we've only been working together a month. So, always carve out space to be of service and to embrace people. That's one of the philosophies we had at Burning Man. Like, sure, maybe you can get the job done, but it's a lot more fun and it's a lot more community driven if you can figure out a way for 5 people to work on the same thing together. And then you'll find that the work kind of grows its own work, and maybe what you thought was just a speaker series also becomes, a Netflix documentary and a podcast and a blog series. So you just never know how helping people can also help amplify your work and provide you with support. And also, sharing the benefit of what you know is never gonna, there's not scarcity in that. Just like I don't think there's scarcity in compliments. If you compliment someone, that's awesome. Like, never waste a compliment. If you see someone walking down the street and they have a fabulous hat, there's no reason not to tell them, because otherwise that compliment just drifts off into Neverland, and it doesn't cost you anything. So I also feel similarly about being deliberate about mentoring and bringing other people along. That help is never help wasted, and they're going to learn something. And then if you move on, at least you've taught somebody the things that you know, so that they can also keep things that you care about going. And then the last point that I wanted to share as I take a sip of tea is, shooting stars do burn out. I remember in my teens, college, and my 20s, I had an inexhaustible amount of firepower and energy, and I was just like a rocket. But I think there were times probably when I was overtired when I was young, if I was like really, really focusing on a project and wasn't really taking care of myself. And when you start to get too tired and too stressed and you don't sleep enough and you're maybe drinking too much coffee and all of that, you can start to like not be the best to the people around you. Sometimes you take decisions out of haste. And so I would just always, I think that there's a big kind of reboot of mindfulness and wellness philosophy coming out right now. And for the New Yorker in me, I'm like, whatever, let's just have some coffee and keep on going. I don't need a break. But I think that there's something, maybe it's the 13 years in California that's gotten to me, but I would say, having a little bit of you time and taking some time to care for yourself, even in the middle of a big project, is going to keep you from burning out. Because if you experience a complete burnout, like I did, I injured my back a few years ago. I had like a zillion projects going and I was just out. And there were warning signs. I think I could have helped myself and rested many times, but I didn't want to miss out on anything fun. So definitely bake some time into your world to care for yourself. So co-create with the universe, think about vision boards, and be deliberate about what you want, and let the universe co-create it with you. Follow your dreams, even if they take a while, and just have patience with the process and enjoy that process. Be grateful for help. Like I said, acknowledge people's contributions to your journey. Be gracious in the way that you remind them of what they did for you, because that also supports your relationship with them. And it also puts some sparkle in their life to know that their kindness to you mattered. And on the flip side, always look for people to be kind to and to nurture along the way. There's nothing to be lost in doing that. And my final point, which I just said, was shooting stars do burn out. So practice self-care, even if it feels a little hippy dippy. I think it's important, and that there's definitely a good things to be had by striking a balance. So you can always reach me if you want to. My email is meganrutigliano@gmail.com. I'll share it with Marcelo. I'll also share the website for my new business. If any of you want to talk to me about your career ideas or project ideas, I'm really good about helping young people think of an action plan. Maybe I can even host a workshop on that for you all in the future. So with that, that's what I was prepared to say. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share a little bit about what I've learned, and thanks so much, Marcelo, for the warm welcome and invitation to be here.
Oh, it's great to hear comedy. You actually reminded me of a story when I was in my very early 20s, traveling around Brazil, backpacking, and I had just read a report on the public services that had the best public perception. And it turned out that the post service was 93%. Like, most people were very, very grateful to have the letters being delivered. And I had to ask a postman in this city really far away, and then he was the only person around, and
Oh,
he knew exactly where to go because that's what he does for a living. And I just thought that it would be nonsensical for me not to share the good news with him, right? He's a total stranger.
that's so cute.
He can do me a favor of telling me where to go, but even if not, I mean, I would still like to share the news. I'm just wondering, of course, he had this gigantic smile on his face, and he felt very proud of the work he was doing, which is very hard, especially in a hot country like Brazil. And
Yeah.
then now I'm just thinking the cascading effect. Imagine how many times, for how many days, weeks, and months he's been telling
He
people
told
that
people.
I am the 90%
Yes.
guy. Yeah.
I love
So it took me 10 seconds, right? And this 10 seconds kind of created this avalanche of happiness to so many people who probably needed a little bit of good news and day. And yeah, I completely agree with you. We need to basically try to do as much as possible, which is low cost in terms of time, money, effort from our perspective, and high value to someone else. And have that balance, right? Should I take 5 to 10 seconds of my life to make someone feel better for weeks? Yeah, I think that's probably a very good equation. And that's what you perceive. And we probably met at Burning Man 2016, if you're there.
I
Uh,
was. Yes.
so that's most likely where we connected because it's so sort of way back. That's why I know it didn't register. And I'm just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more in terms of the teenagers and the Burning Man organization, because it's kind
Yeah.
of an adult-ish event.
Uh-huh.
You obviously need to be careful in getting minors involved, but you do have the camps that focus specifically on the kids. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a bit more in terms of this amazing burst of creativity. So it's hard work and fun at the same time, and how can a Burning Man mindset help teenagers become wiser?
Ooh, I love that. So, great question about how can a Burning Man mindset help teenagers become better. I think so. Burning Man welcomes the stranger. Burning Man is an event that happens in the Black Rock Desert of Nevada and has for 30 years. This is the first year it's not happening in real time, but it's happening, well, in person. It's happening in real time through online events next week called the Burning Man Multiverse. But anyway, some of the principles of Burning Man are radical self-expression, civic responsibility, um, immediacy. And that kind of gets to the point, and Marcel and I were making about him talking to the postman. Immediacy, like being available and being present in the moment to interact. Communal effort. So we all want to be sparkling creative individuals at Burning Man, but it takes more than one person to put up a giant art installation. So, and then also leaving no trace. So leaving the spaces that you go into better than you found them, whether it's an Airbnb you stay in, or your train car, or the Black Rock Desert of Nevada, which we have to leave spotless at the end of every burn. I think that children, even younger than you guys, have always been welcome at Burning Man. Um, sometimes parents just want to go there to have their playtime, but a lot bring their children, and children have a lot of ways to contribute. In fact, there was a kid who was 12 that got a Burning Man art grant to build an effigy, a wooden sculpture of his dog who had passed away. There's a whole village called Kidsville. We do Black Rock Scouts where we welcome, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts to come and learn about the playa. We have a lot of teenagers that come and volunteer for our media team or for the greeters or for the coffee shop. So there are Burning Man events all over the world. So Marcelo just shared the web address with you, and there are many regional events in Europe and Latin America and all across the United States. And I mean, I think that people need a fresh perspective. So bring your ideas, and I think that you'd get a lot of help and support. And then maybe convince your parents that you don't need them to go with you, or maybe they do. But
Yeah, I'll definitely go with the parents in this case. But I think that the elements that we have there, of course, it's in the desert in summer, it's harsh. You know, it's been around for long enough to serve as proof that people keep on going back. It's amazing, right? I had that experience, and I'm just wondering how I can distill and transport it to the school level, literally, as in have like a mini Burning Man, or have a construction project in the schoolyard, or have that spirit of let's work together to realize this vision. And that could be, a counseling, could become a book, in fact. I mean, if you're into the idea of sharing your experiences into how can you do an art project at the school level, and where can you find the resources, and this is how this project was built, this is the person who built it, maybe they can be your mentors in the your own project, so people don't even have to travel
I
to
like
travel
that.
with their minds, right? So especially
Yeah,
during the COVID times, trying to get as many people as possible, because you have those iconic art cars like the shark is just unbelievable, right? It's not that big, but it's so well done as being part of the landscape for such a long time. And then you have the giant fire breathing octopus, which is,
oh yeah, El Pulpo
I,
Mecánico.
I would not recommend that to the local school, but but there are a couple of projects. Maybe you could use water instead of fire, right? Or have foam or smoke coming out. But I think that if you could serve as a bridge, because many of the people who build those art cars, they are kind of middle class, normal lifestyle in Nebraska, and then they go to the playa and kaboom, their creativity
Epic
just
things.
grows. So they would have the time, they would have the passion to be able to guide teenagers from around the world on how to go kaboom with their creativity at the local level. So if there is a way of structuring this as part of the work you're doing in Detroit, or if you want to just, you know, prod a little bit and figure out if some of people you know a bit better, if they'll be willing to do something like that, I'm all in. I mean, I can propose a
That sounds
project. Say,
cool.
this is what they did at the Burning Man. Would you like to have a smaller scale version built in your local community? And we try to find the takers.
I love that, and we can definitely provide toolkits and also get artists to talk about the creative process. And I can certainly share with you all what comes out of this Detroit experiment that I'll be undertaking.
I mean, is there a database of people who build art, cars, facilities at the different burns, or how do you guys manage that?
um, Burning Man does have those databases. Basically, if you wanted to give a shout out to, like, they won't share participant information, but if you wanted to put like a call to action or an invitation to come and join a speaker series, or to do like
Yeah.
a mentoring session for younger people that want to create art pieces, then or create art cars, then you could send it to dmv@burningman.org, and then they can send it on to the newsletters and lists.
Yeah, I know Christopher Breedlove, so maybe I could connect me with some people there. I don't know if he's still with the organization.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah,
100%. He's a perfect place to start.
yeah. So I had he invited me to your not so secret headquarters in San Francisco. That had a hidden address because he didn't want people showing up there after the burn.
Yeah,
So he,
it's pretty cool, isn't it?
oh, it's fabulous. It's
Yeah.
a really gorgeous or interior design.
Very
Uh,
empty right now, but pretty fabulous.
yeah. So I think that our next speaker is having difficulties joining. Is American but based in Rio. Let me just give him a quick call.
Okay, cool.
So guys, if you want to ask Meghan any questions, please go ahead. I'll be back in a bit.
Well, actually, I tried to take over.
All right.
Yeah, I'm also part